bank vault copy of this, and you can keep your secret version of this contract railroad benefit, and you can keep those things. And I'll tell you why. Because as it is written in the law, they know it in their head. Fine. The distinction that we're going to make with this is going to your county clerk with a copy of your birth certificate and or or your social security card. You don't have to, and me personally, I wouldn't. I'm just telling you all the process I know. I wouldn't. You can take these instruments and you draft them with the language of Title 15 of the United States Code. Title 15 of the United States Code governing securities is this is a certificate, this is a security. Because there is a secured debt here. It means it's secure, it's under control. So what you're going to do is you're going to get these papers. You're going to file it under, you're going to attach to it 15 United States Code. Underneath that, you're going to put, this is a U.S. United States SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, tracer flag, just to track it. And then you're going to put not a point of law, because it's not a point of law. It's not. What it is we're dealing with securities here. This has nothing to do with law. We're on a whole new scheme now. All right, we're dealing with commerce, or commerce code. And I'll tell you that commerce don't deal with law. So on the Title 15 United States Code, it tells you that one definition of a security is any evidence of debt. In my hand, I have evidence that they owe me. In your hand, you have the evidence that they owe you. Well, if someone owes you, doesn't that make them a debtor and doesn't it make you a creditor? This is the point for changing your status. And it's only for this point. It's not to go wave a nationality around. It's not to go flag people down and say, hey, my status is a free and sovereign indigenous more. Because trust me, I did all that in court. I did all that 10, 15, 20 years ago. I'm still living, still kicking, still fighting. And I'm telling you that I found some solutions that work. And I'm just putting the information out there showing you how to use it. And it does come from the Bible. I do use that. But that's a whole nother creature. Let's get into the secured party creditor and what makes him a secured party and what makes him a creditor. On June 5th, 1933, FDR and all the 50 governors of all the states came together under a national emergency during a session called the 100-day special session. This was happening during the Great Depression, so on April 1st, they declared the banking holiday, which means all banks are shut down. They wrote it into law and history as a banking holiday. But have you ever thought that the bank was closed that day during the Great Depression when people need to get their money out and it didn't open for 100 days? Okay. So that motherfucker out because they closed the doors and kept all their funds that they had. And the banks, they closed them down doors. And then the president had the balls to issue out a mandate that if you get caught with gold, you'll do 10 years. You can look that up under Title 50 United States Code, and you can go look in the footnotes of that. That's there. It also deals with Trading with the Enemy Act, but we're going to cover that. House Joint Resolution 192 is a prepaid money order. It is an executive order by the president. There's nobody that can supersede this written executive order. This executive order says that anyone who is purported to owe any debt in any amount of coin or currency, which shall be the coin and currency of the United States of America at that point in time, shall be hereby declared against public policy. And that debt shall be discharged dollar for dollar dollar for dollar. I'm paraphrasing. So revisiting the gist of the statement that he made, he said, anyone that is purporting to have something owed to them, it is against public policy for you to ask for it. And whatever is owed is supposed to be discharged dollar for dollar. Whatever the point or currency of the United States is at that particular point in time. And these words are very important. So here you have your president write to you into law as a beneficiary of the Great Depression. All right. Then he writes it into law and says that it's illegal for anyone to say that you owe them anything. It's right there in the law. So the reason why he did that is because they blew the gold and then they stole more and blew that. And so they took the gold, which meant that they the ones who made the rules. So they took it from the rule makers. But now they got to pay the bills because he who holds the gold makes the rules, but he who has the gold also pays the bills. Fact. So when they took us off the gold schedule, they wrote it into law that it would be discharged dollar for dollar. That was illegal. That was totally against the law. But we'll cover that because before I can start going into these octopuses, these cans of worms, I have to give it to you at a steady pace. So we're dealing with the status correction because that's the most important right now, so that the people that are watching the individuals out here debating on what a status correction is, I gave you the law, I give you the facts. I am a secured party creditor. What I'm reaching for while I'm turning away from the camera, no disrespect, is my financial statements, my bonds, and things like that. Show me that I'm registered with the Secretary of State. This here. This is a letter from the Secretary of State. You can see the seal on the bottom of it. From Washington. Okay, you see that? Washington State Department of Licensing, Uniform Commercial Code. Okay, Debtor Information Search Report. You see that? So, the first thing I did was, because, they want to say, what is your status? So, according to national law, according to the national database, trying to get the lighting right. All right. So what we have here is right at the top, search number. They're trying to check my file number. So when they punch that in, they're going to go to the Secretary of State for Washington. They're going to go under the Uniform Commercial Code, and they're going to see me, Brian Lamar Green, as a secured party. It's right there, individual name. And be careful of that name individual, because under the law, that name individual also means corporation. But we'll get into that. I'll show you why I copyright my name as well. And then you have here name searched, the individual's name that is searched, and then you have the all capital letter monster. Green Brian Lamar. How your name is supposed to be written in order for your credit to come. Last name first, comma, that's your family name, where your hereditaries come from. That's your first personal name, that's your middle personal name, and divine name, if you choose to. But they said, what type of liens are we searching? Is lien status search? It's unlapsed. That means that at no point in time will my lien run out against myself. And let's say with my search, you see that? Search logic use standard. Why? Because I have the file number I gave them to you. I just punched in that standard. I didn't have to do anything crazy. But it shows you when. Shows you when, what time I filed them, what copies. Here's my certification registering, showing you that I dealt with the filing office. Certifies that the attached list, and I'm trying to read it off the screen. Right. It says the filing office certifies that the attached list and copies, if any, is a true and exact representation of all financing statements and non-UCC liens for the name searched as filed with the Department of Licensing, Uniform Commercial Code Program. Okay. And as you can see, they have Pat Kohler, who is the director of the Department of Licensing for Washington, D.C. That's the stamp. So what this does is this puts me in commercial waters registered with the Secretary of State in Washington. So now we know that the UCCs are located at every Secretary of State in every state. It's in the same building as the Department of the Register of Vital Statistics and the U.S. Treasury. The State Treasury in every building. Next, I'm going to show you having did a status correction. I'm going to show you what popped up. This is my status correction. This is what will be in those fake ass Fugazi systems that they use in prison and shit like that. Say initial financing statement file number. I'm say date and time that it was filed. And notice that it was 11/14/2015. I only did that because I have to in order to show you how it's working. I never use this stuff because I use it through operation of law, so they never see it coming. But I have this tangible just so that I can put it on their records to do a status correction for their records. So when I go in there, they already know the time. But as you can see on the top, there's a D listed there. There's a D right here somewhere. Right, D, where my finger is. And it says the all capital letter name. You see it? Brian Lamar Green. The D says debtor. He's a debtor. Then you go down here. It tells you where this debtor lives at. It's an address in North Carolina. Some stuff, I know how to do. Anybody can do it. Anyway, then you look at the S up there. The S stands for secured party, and you see my mother's name that she gave me at the same address that the straw man is in care of. History, just basically showing you the restatement of collateral. These things you have to do when you filing a status correction. So what the hell is a restatement of collateral? These are the questions that are posed to people, and with people not having this information, this is the reason why people are going to fucking jail, saying that this information that's being propagated is bullshit. So, I'm going to go into the actual financing statement for a second. I'm going to read it off to you after I show it to you, so that you can see right here, UCC financing statement. You see Sharif Al-Hadi Al. I didn't tell him I had the Bay on there. I had to put the Bay on there in the end because what we about to take back belongs to the Bays, the Emperors. And the L's and the Days and the Al's and the Ali's and the Turners and the Washingtons and all the other Moors that have the greens, the blacks, the browns. Yeah. But here's your UCC financing statement. Okay. And so this is your status correction. This right here. People saying they doing this for you. If they're saying they're doing this for you and you're not getting these results, something's wrong. Okay? This is an amendment, by the way. And before I go any further, I'm going to show you how useful this is. I'm going to show you on the amendment why I made this amendment. I made this amendment to capture these lines here. I actually have something in court right now. As you can see, there is a state of New Jersey. I'm sorry. There's a state of New Jersey. State of New Jersey judgment of, and I'm trying to get up here so y'all can see it. I'm just gonna read this shit. This is State of New Jersey judgment of conviction and order of commitment, original charges number, and then I'll tell my number, and then I also have my cash card on here too. But the reason why I put my charges on here is because charges, we know we're dealing with creditors. One thing about creditors, how you gonna charge the man that started your block? How you gonna charge the man that funded your block for anything when all of y'all started from his pocket? You can't. When you change your status, a whole slew of information becomes available. These laws start working without you even having to know them. But first it takes having to know them to get them to work. because I'm dealing with status correction. I want to show you how important the status correction is in relationship to this what's going on. These are some charges that I caught back in 2005. Get some dumb shit. I got 11-year sentence and a 5-year sentence, and I had mandatory 5 years parole. I came on March 11th, 2015. My mandatory 5 years parole is not 5 years parole, it's 5 years probation, in which I don't even take a hearing. My probation conditions is one piece of paper that basically spells out stay out of trouble with the law. I have made the past 3 phone calls, the past 3 meetings with my officer by phone. And how did I do this? I corrected my status on the record when I was in prison with dealing with the United States Treasury. I sent them a bill of exchange to offset and adjust the account that had me in prison, as well as it was associated with my birth certificate, so that I can zero out my account and live without debt and insure. What they did was, instead of them sending me the original certified mail letters back, stuff that I was supposed to have back, I actually got one green card back. And that green card had a red stamp on it and IRS-OCS or OSC. And at that point in time, I didn't really know what that was. I just knew they had my shit. And by the law of acquiescence, meaning he fails to respond, you agree. Okay, we have some stipulations in place. So I have a Treasury account. Just only because they won't respond. I was born with one anyway. When I did that, something happened. Weird happened. They never sent me anything. They never discharged anything. But I noticed when I came home, I'm no longer in a national database. I had to re-upload myself into the national database to come get some of this good shit that they about to. I had to, man. I had to. I don't like them no like y'all do. I had to give them my ID. I had to show them a copy of my Social Security card, upon which, don't forget, I have a lien against these things. My status has been corrected, so when I give them a copy of an identification card possessing identification numbers on it, they know that it's a trade number, and it's a trade property belonging to the corporation Brian Lamar Green. And upon trespass, you will be sued for $500,000 every time I see my name. The government is well aware of this. Please excuse me while I look. While I look through for what I'm making a reference to. Not for nothing, nonetheless. I'll get back to it because it's a whole lot to cover, and I have so much information that sometimes I can go everywhere. So let me just stay focused. This is my original charges. My original charges is conspiracy, robbery, weapon possession, unlawful purpose, resisting arrest, violence, aggravated assault with a weapon, some thug life bullshit. Upon which I wasn't thugging. Alright. It's just shit happens, man. You know how niggas do. But I want to show you here the original charges. Original charges. You see there on the original charges say 06-01-00170-1. That should be a 6, but -1 space B. It's identified as the original charges, and when you type that in, it will pop up everywhere. Everywhere. These things will follow. You have these crimes here that I committed. Alright, they will follow. This is called your partial table of damages. Okay? This is your partial table of damages. It's a lawsuit or a receipt. Alright, this is stuff you went to the store to come buy. You came and bought a robbery. You came and bought a conspiracy for $500,000. Came and bought some weapons for a couple million. Came and bought all of these things. So they tallied it up. This is your receipt. So 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 never equals 0. here I have, it is adjudged and ordered. The final charges located right here up top. Okay, I'm looking for, pardon me. It's kind of difficult, but here we go. Let me get it to you. We're looking for final charges right there at the top. See it? Right here where my finger is. It says final charges. I hope you can see it. Please bear with me because this is very important because I'm actually living this shit versus theoretically. And I'm telling you, I've been through the fucking fire with these people, man. I tell you what worked and what won't work. And if you want to keep fucking with the shit that don't work, I'll show you how to make that work too. Now on the bottom here, you have final charges. The final charges says nothing. And only one description in your partial table or your itemized statement. Final charges versus original charges. Here. Final charges versus original charges here. It says that something's happening with them charges. Something happened with them charges. 06-01-00176-I-B. That's the original. The final. The final charges. You see them right there all for yourself. Original charges, you see the table. Then you see final charges, there's nothing. There's nothing there. There were no final charges. There were no final charges. As a creditor, there are no final charges. So, you're written into law as a creditor. So, if you do not write yourself back into the fold as a creditor by doing your status correction, you will not receive credit or become a beneficiary, and you will not have standing, and you will not have status. Status is very important. Status is so important. Your status as a creditor plays on the scale of honor. Status as a debtor plays on the scale of dishonor. Everything that we do, we dealing with these people, it has to be in honor. You have to show up. You have to do what they say do, because when you're doing it, it's going to hurt them. Everything you do is against the law for them, because you're the law abiding one. You're the one whose law is written in your heart and in your mind. Like the brother made reference to Melchizedek and his principles. Now, I have a problem with that, but that's my personal thing. It has nothing to do with what we're doing here. I only have a problem with it because I actually studied under Melchizedek a while ago. In fact, I had a whole hood on that. We was looking for the Melchizedek scroll, and we were doing that when we were teenagers. And I never strayed away from the path. I was propagating the L's and became a Moor when I was 17, and I was at all the massive Mason secrets by the age of 21, all of the secrets. So I was like a different breed. And when the brother Dr. Phil Valentine said that, yo, this is like the Melchizedek order, it was like kind of an honor, and it was like humbling. So I'll give this information to you in light of what you need to know about status correction. I didn't tell you anything about contracts and how to exist within a contract yet, because the contract is very tricky. Right now, what I'm concerned about is what I will recap. What is a status? A status is defined as standing of an entity or issue in the eyes of the law. We're looking at and we're dealing with legalese. We're dealing with words that sound like English, but they're not English. The first word that I'm going to point out to you that you recognize, status is defined as standing of entity, because entity is a corporation. So what does this corporation have according to Article 1, Section, don't quote me, 6, 2, 4. Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution for sure says that Indians, the clause about the Indians and the 3/5 of persons seen as property. Well, when you're talking about an entity, you're talking about a corporation who has rights that can sue and be sued. You're talking about 3/5 of a person. So that everybody that's written as 3/5 of the person is a corporation. So your standing, your status is your legal standing. The legal standing of an entity or issue in the eyes of the law. It tells you that there's a difference between an entity and an issue. An entity is a business. An issue is a generator. It's generation. Your children, mine, yours, energy. This is your issue. Your issue is a tax issue. Your issue is a refund check. It's a tax issue. Look up Title 26, United States Code, the definition for issue. It's a refund check. And isn't that funny? This issue is before the court. This check is before the court. Don't worry though, I'll be busting their ass. I'm humbled to have the opportunity to share this with you now. It's been almost 20 years trying to get this information to you. So without further ado, your creditor is UCC 1-102A13. It defines a creditor. It says it includes. It doesn't define it. It says it includes. It includes secure party, a secure creditor, lien creditor. It includes these things. And the conspicuous writing in UCC 1-20110 says that anything that looks suspicious ought to be suspicious, and according to the UCC, it is called conspicuous writing. Okay. And the term person under UCC 1-201 sub item 27 defines person as an artificial entity, a corporation, a juristic person, and also a natural person, just because it's a term person. But it's more closely associated and ascribed to businesses because of the 3/5 of a person. A natural person can never be 3/5 of a person. So when you're saying person and you're talking 3/5 of a person, you're not talking about a natural person. The 14th Amendment has never been passed and passed the 2/3 vote. And so the science behind the 14th Amendment and the creation of the corporation is a whole different mindset that we're going to address, which will take us on the sea. The only status you should claim is that of a creditor. Any correction you want to make, it's because you're a creditor. I'm Money Green. I'm here with you all the way around. Peace.